To provide political context into the pro-life movement in the state of Maryland, we're joined now by the executive director of the Maryland Catholic Conference, Jenny Kraska. Jenny, you're at the forefront of this fight for life in a state that's fourth in the country as an abortion provider. Maryland, because of recent news, seems to be in a race with Vermont to see who can get a right to abortion on their ballot in November and in their state constitution first. What does this look like on the ground? How does it make your job exceptionally hard?
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult challenge right now that we're facing in Maryland. There is a bill that would provide, potentially, if it makes its way through the process, a ballot question this November asking whether we should enshrine abortion into Maryland's state constitution. It's incredibly vague language. It's very broad, including a right to what they're terming reproductive justice. So as you can imagine, that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And when it comes to fighting this issue in Maryland, we're facing an uphill battle, to be very honest with you. Politically, we have a House and a Senate that are predominantly Democrat, and a big pro-abortion and pro-choice lobby in the state of Maryland that is fighting hard to make sure that this ballot initiative gets onto the ballot for November. So we have really been fighting hard on the ground politically to get the word out to our base and to other folks of goodwill that would be willing to make sure that the fight for life happens in Maryland and that this ballot initiative doesn't get put on the ballot.
Jenny, we just heard that 30,000 babies are aborted every year in Maryland, and we know that Planned Parenthood is creating these abortion funds to pay for abortions and to create more abortion tourism. What kind of resources exist to support mothers and families from the other side? And does the church have some kind of a plan to increase that support or to lobby to increase that support from the state?
Yeah, so currently right now, there is no state funding for pregnancy centers, for example, in Maryland. We would love to see something like that happen and have over the years advocated for that to happen. Unfortunately, it hasn't. What the church has done in other networks, obviously, as was mentioned, there are crisis pregnancy centers in Maryland that are helping mothers and their babies. We have a very strong Gabriel network in Maryland as well, that the diocese, all three of them in Maryland, are actively involved in. We have programs through our Catholic Charities agencies that help mothers and children, especially with things like housing and clothing and just basic needs that they need to feel comfortable and hopefully make a decision that is geared towards life. And those things are available in our diocese. We also have been ramping up, I know in our diocese, the Walking with Moms in Need program as well. Again, just to be a support for women who are, facing pregnancies that are challenging or unplanned. We want to make sure that they have the resources necessary to choose life. And those are all really important programs. We're also at the state level advocating, and we did last year. One, I think, great program is additional funding for hospitals to provide neonatal and prenatal care to moms. We know that especially low-income moms and women of color don't receive the proper prenatal care that they need to have healthy pregnancies and bring their babies to term. So continuing to increase funding for things like that, I think, are all positive steps in the right direction. And the hope is always that, we could do more. There is more that needs to be done in Maryland, but we're making, steps where we can.
Let's talk about the funding issue then. In the past, Maryland has tried to restrict free speech for pregnancy resource centers and pro-life advocates. Some of that comes with strings tied to state-level funding. Do you think local and state officials will move to impose limitations like that again?
Yeah, that's one of the big concerns that we have right now with this ballot initiative that's being proposed. Because of the very broad language that is in the initiative, if this were to pass, there's definitely, the chance that there will be a great deal of litigation after this is passed to do just exactly that, to impose restrictions that limit speech, that, do a lot of things that would be extraordinarily harmful to the pro-life movement in Maryland, to freedom of speech in Maryland.
And you brought up the race issue, which I know also affects, it's not just race, low income access as well is something that concerns a lot of people. How is this used both by the pro-abortion side to persuade people to think that this is an issue of economic resources rather than life?
Yeah, I think that there is a misconception that women of color, women that are low income want more access to abortion. And I just don't think that the statistics and the polling bears that out. I think that women, especially women of color and low income women, want more resources. They want to be able to raise children, healthy children. They want to be able to, engage in the workforce and have economic viability, and be able to raise happy, healthy families and not be offered just more access to abortion.
So then, Jenny, Mark's report discussed the pastoral allies, the ecumenical work that's being done with pregnancy resource centers, et cetera. What can Catholics do in the political sense to make this a priority in Maryland?
Yeah, I think right now, the real immediate need on the ground is to make their voices heard in the political arena. We still have 39 days left of our legislative session in Maryland, and there's still a great opportunity to make your voice heard on the bills that are moving forward in both the House of Delegates and the Senate, and to make sure that your elected representatives know that you are opposed to things like enshrining a constitutional right to abortion and reproductive justice in Maryland's Constitution.
Are you getting enough help and support from church leadership? I know you mentioned the Walking with Moms initiative from the USCCB. Is this something that you need people to write to the bishops about?
Our bishops here in Maryland have been extraordinarily helpful in making sure that we have the resources that are needed to reach the parishes and the different entities within the diocese. We need more grassroots people to come out and to really let their elected officials know. The resources are there. We have incredible, resources available on our website at mdcatholic.org, including parish resource kits. So all of the tools are there to make it extraordinarily easy for you to contact your legislators and let them know that you oppose, especially this constitutional amendment.
Well, Jenny, we'll be looking to you to tell us if this does end up on the ballot, and you can come back and help us stay aware.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jenny.